Stirring the Daybreak coffee with chopsticks using the Vortex method, the only true way to optimize the taste of your coffee. At the molecular level, good morning, welcome to the Daybreak Show. I am the Sultan. We'll get started, but first, Daybreak coffee from Wegmans. So good. Made cowboy coffee style this morning with a little bit of cream and monk fruit sweetener. I love it. Sean Smith emailed me yesterday and told me about Daybreak coffee sold at Wegmans. And yesterday was the day that I go to Wegmans after my part-time job. And I thought, you know what? Let me try some of this. I did, and I'm glad that I did. This is called Daybreak coffee, and how appropriate. Just nice. It reminds me of like my roasted coffee. That's what it reminds me of when I roast coffee myself. I like it a lot. Maybe we'll just forget the Daybreak Show and I'll just sit here and drink coffee while you watch. Thank you, Sean Smith. Excellent recommendation. We're going to talk about, towards the end of the show today, why people cheat. I have some other things I want to talk about first. But why do people cheat? Stay tuned. For those of you that are in business, people will pay more for a transformation than a transaction, rather than you give me money and I give you a service or I give you a thing, this transactional thing, quid pro quo thing. People want a transformation. So if you are in business, no matter who you are, how do you provide a transformation for people? What do they do? What do you do? How can you fundamentally transform a person's life or a component of a person's life with what you do, your product or service? In my business mentoring, I literally will ask people that. How do you provide for a transformation? How are people's lives different? How do they morph into something else as a result of your service and your product? I like to say live until you die or sleep when you're dead. George, how do you keep running? How do you work so much? How do you keep going at your age? Yes, I am closer to 60 than I am to 70, but I will tell you, my number one rule is that life is short. Live until you die. You're not supposed to spend the last 20 years of your life swallowing a handful of pills and going to doctors every other week. Now, if you are currently doing that, start working with your doctor to have them unprescribe and get off of things. Like, for instance, I was talking with someone yesterday. You get diagnosed, let's say, with hypertension. I was diagnosed with hypertension when I was 26 years old. I will never forget. It was my first job out of graduate school. And I had insurance. I had health insurance that wasn't part of my father's plan, my family's plan. And went in for a physical, and it was either what they call white coat hypertension, where you get nervous when you see a doctor. You know, you come walking in through the parking lot, rushing in, and then 5 minutes later they're taking your blood pressure. Of course it's going to be high. I never understood that. That's another thing I don't understand about doctors. They weigh you. They're like, okay, step on the scale. And you're on the scale with your clothes on. You could have hiking boots on and like a pair of jeans, which are like 1.5 pounds, and a sweatshirt, but they say step on the scale, and your clothing can literally add 10 pounds. You know, with the stuff in your pockets. It's ridiculous. Why don't they strip you down to your underwear and then weigh yourself? That always bothered me. And then take the blood pressure at the end of the session, only because you're sitting there and you have a chance to relax. So I think there's a lot of false readings going on. Smart doctors know this. Live until you die. Sleep when you are dead. There's a lot of things in your life that are wasting time right now. There were people in my life that used to waste my time a lot, and I nicknamed them TW for TW. Then over a period of time, there was TW1, TW2, TW3. Literally, people where all of my interaction with them was a waste of time. Who is wasting your time? What TWs are in your life? What TWs are in your life? Name them. Give them a title. It might start communicating to your unconscious mind that you are wasting time with them. Going from a high-strung, stressed-out dude most of my life, like I said, I don't like these labels, type A, type B, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. I don't like titles. Can't stand, I don't even like tests that give you titles. Even like the Myers-Briggs, okay, so that adds a few more titles that you could end up being. And they are sweeping generalizations. For instance, if you've ever been in like dating sites, there's the percentage of match. And I remember matching with women who were like 96%. And then when I read the profile, I was like, I wouldn't want to spend 5 seconds with this person. Like, what are they measuring? You know? So, back to the topic. I stay away from titles. So rather than saying I'm a type A individual, I'll say I was pretty high-strung and stressed out. Self-imposed stressed out most of my life. So I would take biofeedback readings. My phone has a little biofeedback thing where you put your finger on it and it measures your pulse, your oxygenation level, and then your stress level. And I would take those measurements throughout the day. For about the past 10 years, I've been doing that. And I start to see the difference. And of course, and then when I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, many years ago, then I had to like prick my finger and check my blood and then check my blood pressure. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm just like a wreck here. So what happened was I had to optimize my thoughts, my actions, and the scenarios that I put myself in, because when you start checking your vital signs on a regular basis, you're going to find out what scenarios, what people, what jobs elevate those various factors. So doing all that stuff, literally, like for instance, I remember taking when I first got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which since then I have beat, but I had to take I guess it's like a course at my local hospital by the American Diabetes Association. And they give you a meter and they teach you, and it was several weeks, several Monday nights. And one of the things they did was they had you prick your finger, check your blood, measure your blood sugar. And then what we did was, as a group, as a class, walked around the entire hospital, literally the perimeter outside of the hospital. Had to be a half mile. Came back in the classroom, there was some teaching, we waited 20 minutes, and there was still some more teaching, and then prick your finger again. It's magic. The blood sugar level went down as a result of exercise. Smart people see the connection between exercise and movement and reduced glucose levels. During that same time, I was using the thing on my phone that measures stress level. And they were teaching us different things to reduce stress, like different exercises and such. And I used my phone as a monitor, and literally all my levels went down as a result of these exercises. So even the people that I coach now, I teach them various exercises that literally are like night and day, will make you stop thinking certain thoughts. I use a thing called automatic thought stopping, mindfulness exercises, anti-anxiety exercises. And it's absolutely amazing. And that's the real science, is that you have more control over your body and over your functions than you think you do. And here I am, closer to 60 than I am to 70. And I will tell you that the more you purposely work out, walk, the healthier you're going to be. The idea is not to make your doctor happy twice a year when they look at your stuff on their little laptop and they go, "Oh, good job." You don't want a good boy treat from your doctor. What you want to do is live a long, healthy life. That's the key. So I've been taking my own biofeedback for well over a decade now. Whether it's an actual biological response. What I'm not doing is taking my own blood, like vials of blood, and then, although that probably wouldn't be a bad thing. Most people only get lab work done because it gets ordered by a doctor. What if you did your own and monitored your own and understood and educated yourself as to what factors will give you longevity? So whether it's an actual biological response or autogenic conditioning, it matters not. I am 10 years into measuring my own biofeedback, and it works. Every person out there, even if you are not pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetic, even if you're not, you need to get yourself a kit where you prick your finger. I don't care if you do it once a week. Actually, twice a week would be good. And check your glucose levels. Super important. Super important. But do it. Learn to see what your body is doing, how it reacts. I love this phrase from C.S. Lewis. "Don't you like a rather foggy day in the woods in autumn? You'll find we shall. Be perfectly warm sitting in the car." Jane said she'd never heard of anyone liking fog before. But she didn't mind trying. All three got in. That's why Camilla and I got married, said Deniston, and they drove off. We both like weather. Not this kind of weather or that kind of weather, but weather. We like weather, period. We love being outside. It's a useful taste if one lives in England. How did you ever learn how to do that, Mr. Deniston, said Jane. I don't think I ever learned to like the rain or snow. It's the other way around, said Deniston. Everyone begins as a child loving the weather. You learn the art of disliking it as you grow up. Noticed it on a snowy day? The grown-ups are all going about with long faces, staying in the house. But children and dogs, they know what snow is made for. I'm sure I hated wet days as a child, said Jane. Camilla says, that's because the grown-ups in your life kept you in. Any child loves rain if it's allowed to go out and paddle around in it. C.S. Lewis from That Hideous Strength. Now you know why C.S. Lewis is my favorite author. Wasn't that magnificent? Didn't that create a movie in your head as I was talking? Isn't that beautiful? I have been looking at 1 acre of ground. Name the things below that can be done with 1 acre of ground. I mean, obviously, you can put a home on it. I'm looking at homes with 1 acre of ground, and no less. 1 acre. You would be surprised what you can do with 1 acre of ground. Is there a crop that you can grow on 1 acre that can sustain you? Are there animals that you can have on 1 acre that provides something that can sustain you. 1 acre of ground is enough for the average family to live on if they utilize it properly. I like to say half wooded, half cleared. What can you do with 1 acre of ground? Put your answer down below. I like to remember the useful things that people taught. For instance, I enjoyed Dr. Andrew Weil's work for over 20 years. He is the father of integrative medicine. He's a pioneer, brilliant man. Then he went full woke, and I can't even follow him anymore. And that happened like in the past couple of years. I can't believe how smart people can go woke. It's got, woke has nothing to do with intelligence. It's 100% emotional and spiritual. I won't forget how I actually benefited from his research and his teaching for many years, and for that, I am thankful. How many things in life can you say, and for that, I am thankful? I'm working with a gentleman right now who lost his wife. No names. I won't give any name. Who lost his wife last December. Hasn't even been a year yet. And one of the things that goes through his head on purpose when he thinks about her is, we had X number of years together, and for that, I am thankful. What if you went through a breakup? Was the whole relationship bad? Or are you defining the whole relationship by the breakup or the divorce? Didn't you have any good times? I went through a pretty shitty divorce 20 years ago. Yeah, it was pretty bad. It defined my life for a few years after. But when I look at some of the fun things that we did, when I look at some of the joy that we had, when I look at some of the stories that we created, the memories, and I'm not letting anyone off the hook by doing this. I'm not. And I'm not forgetting the pain, and I'm not forgetting the betrayal, and I'm not living in a fantasy world. But for the good times that I had, I am thankful. Now there, right there is a transformational attitude, and it's mature. That's called the adult pill, if you want to put a pill on something. Did you ever think that America should liberate Australia in the same way we liberate Middle Eastern countries? Oops, there's no oil there, and there's no other small little controlling countries around there. Forget it. Read between the lines on that one. Well, you came into my life. I fell in love with you. You seemed to melt every time we encountered each other. You had a power over me. I tried to say no, but I gave in every single time. You're smooth and you're cool. I haven't seen you in a year, yet you come back into my life like nothing ever happened. You're cold, but I love you. Damn you, pumpkin spice ice cream. Gotcha, didn't I? Vincent Van Gogh frequently did paintings and sketches of his surroundings. I love his simple, still lifes. If he saw it, he painted it. It brought him joy. So what was on his table? Bread, onions, a book, some writing materials, a pen of some type, a bottle of wine, a candle, a pipe, and a little pinch of tobacco. And he painted it. And maybe a pitcher of water, looks like. I don't know why I am drawn to Van Gogh. I have been since I was a child. I don't know why. And it's funny, my mother is too. No one else in my family, everyone else in the family could care less. They're like Chevy Chase at the Grand Canyon going, okay, let's go. I look at Van Gogh And for some reason, it speaks to me. I don't know why. I have no idea. I live near one of the most, and you've never heard anyone say this before, I think the Philadelphia Museum of Art is the best museum in the country. I think it's better than the Metropolitan. I think it is right up there with the Louvre in France. It is an amazing museum, and it's so underappreciated. I go in there, and they have a number of famous works. Their Impressionist wing is amazing. Let's take a look who is in the Philadelphia Museum of Art. You have Mary Cassatt, Paul Cézanne, Thomas Eakins. These are names you might know. Henri Matisse, Georgia O'Keeffe, Claude Monet, Pablo Picasso, Rembrandt, Renoir. The list goes on. Andy Warhol, Andrew Wyeth, Vincent Van Gogh. It just goes on and on and on. It is the Mid-Atlantic States' most hidden jewel. You could spend 2 days there. If you could actually take a trip to Philadelphia and take the tours in the museum. It's huge. It's massively huge. Literally take 2 days, take full advantage of it, take the tours, look at what special exhibits are happening, and make a whole weekend out of it. It is magnificent. You will not be disappointed. Take my word for it. If you've never seen the greatest works of art that you've seen your whole life, things that you've seen in books, they're at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Literally, I will never forget the first time I saw Vincent Van Gogh's Sunflowers. I just did a double take. And do you ever wonder why there's benches in front of famous paintings? Or people just sit there and stare at it? You know what I wanted to see the first time I saw Sunflowers was his signature. I wanted to see that little Vincent at the bottom. The other one that I loved at Philadelphia, and there's so many to choose from. It's like asking you which of my children is my favorite child, okay? Another favorite is A Peaceable Kingdom by Edward Hicks. And every time I see that painting, I see something different in it. A Peaceable Kingdom. Do yourself a favor. I know we've been in some weird-ass dystopia for the past 18 months. Get yourself to a museum. A lot of times, the artwork that you love was created during some wacky times in the world. So it might lift you up a little bit. But do that. Have a weekend in Philadelphia. If you want to do that, there's all kinds of... Stay at a great hotel near the museum. Uber around the city if you want. Most of your Uber drivers will know where to go, where not to go in the city, because it is a shithole pretty much. Why is it that the most beautiful things are in the middle of a shithole? I don't know. Let's move on. There's 3 different responses when standing in front of a casket. What a shock, what a shame, what a life. I remember standing in front of Craig's casket back in February after he killed himself. Because at that time, I didn't know how he killed himself. I had no idea. I'm like, did he shoot himself in the head? Did he overdose? What happened? He ended up shooting himself in the chest. And I just stood in front of... I didn't say, what a life. You know, this whole life celebration stuff. I celebrate him when I think about the fun times that we had, but there's no way I'm going to go to a funeral home and celebrate that. Okay? So it was, what a shock. What a damn shock. And I went to the funeral with my friend Jody, who you know. Me and Jody went to the funeral. And we both cried. And we both just said, what a shame. That was it. It was so damn somber. And I brought him a Rush CD with Rush's, the band Rush, and I put that in his casket. We both loved Rush. She made meatballs and sauce, so she brought a meatball and sauce, and she put it in his casket near his hand. So around his hands were, like, I put the CD in his hand. She put the meat bag with a meatball and sauce in his hand, like a good Italian girl. And she said, and this is the one that got me. She says, "Craig, I cooked for you one last time." I mean, how do you stay normal? How do you stay uncrying when you do that, right? What a shame, what a shock, what a life. Wow, and he chose that. For what reason, I don't know. And I have to live with the uncertainty. So many things in life you have to live with that you just don't have answers for. Not everything comes in a nice, neat little package with a little bow. Sometimes you have to encapsulate painful things in your life. Otherwise, they just drag on forever. Divorces, just the tentacles of pain, just always dragging in your life. Whatever. Death, divorce, bankruptcy, the business failure, the end of relationships, just all has these tentacles. Put things in a box, tie them in a bow, put the box on a shelf. If you want to access it, take it out, open it up, access it, emote, feel, delay your emotion, not deny it. Put the top back on, put the bow back on, put it on the mental shelf. It's a great way. That's what works for me. Especially when you have things that don't have nice, neat little answers. Something to think about there. Hey, let's talk about cheating. Why do people cheat? There are so many bullshit articles. Cheating is just basically opportunity. Everybody, every human being, male and female, is an opportunist. Everybody. I am convinced that everybody, if they knew that they could get away with it somehow, some way, could cheat. Everybody has the potential for cheating. Everybody. I don't care if you are Amish. I don't care if you're Mennonite. I don't care if you are the most devout Christian person in the world. Everybody has the potential to cheat somehow, some way. To be a bad boy, to be a bad girl. There's more articles on how it's complicated. And I just sit there and I'm just calling bullshit on all this stuff here. This is so funny. Here's an article by Scientific American. Remember when Scientific American actually was about science? Instead of this pop psych crap. Why do people cheat? Cheating, it's the ultimate relationship violation and a notorious relationship killer. A favorite gossiping pastime. The phenomenon is frequently discussed but difficult to study. The goal is to avoid getting caught, so why confess infidelity in the name of science? I feel like I'm reading the National Enquirer. But scientists offer us new insight on the topic, often shrouded in stigma and mystery. Cheating is rather a simple affair. There's many reasons why people cheat, and the patterns are more complex than common stereotypes suggest. A fascinating new study, whenever I hear a study, research has been done, research has proven, studies have shown. Whenever you see a sentence that starts with studies have shown, I just instantly put on my boots because I know the bullshit's going to be pretty deep. So why do people cheat? There's 8 key reasons. Anger, self-esteem, lack of love, low commitment, need for variety, neglect, sexual desire, and situation or circumstance. Interesting, right? Though most cheating involves sex, it's rarely about sex. Let me see something here. That's either a woman or a gay guy that wrote that. Or a psychologist. I can't. It's ridiculous. Sex is the reason. Sex is the reason why people cheat, period. Oh, it's an emotional affair. Really? You had a dick in you? That's emotional? Why don't you go out and play Scrabble if it's an emotional affair? You didn't, did you? Why do you have to take your clothes off to have an emotional affair? People's satisfaction with sex differs depending on the reason for their affair. This is a reason why I do not trust psychology at all. This is one of the reasons why I got out of that bullshit field. 22 years of practicing this bullshit and going into coaching was the best thing that ever happened. Figuring out why you are the way you are and why things happen is the biggest waste of time. That is TW number 1. Here's some other reasons. Anger or revenge. Falling out of love. Problem is you fell in love. It wasn't a decision, it was a feeling. Situational factors and opportunity. Well, screw the situational factors. It's mainly opportunity. You know, it's kind of like the murder. You know, when someone is a suspect, what do they look for? They look for motivation and opportunity. Like, do you want to kill him? And did you have a chance to kill him? So let's take a look at those things. But all murders contain those two elements, motivation and opportunity. All cheating contains, well, isn't that funny? Cheating and murder are kind of put in the same category. They literally contain two factors, motivation and opportunity. Potential scenarios. Certain situational factors can also make infidelity more likely, even in a strong, fulfilling relationship, like having a lot to drink and sleeping with someone after a night out. Wanting physical comfort after a distressing event. Living and working in an environment where there's a lot of physical touch and emotional connection. That's for men or women, I guess, right? Commitment issues. That's why I say date long and marry slow, and divorce fast if you're going to get divorced. 5, unmet needs. How funny is that? Every separated woman I ever had a relationship with, you know, like when you meet someone and they're separated, they all say, I haven't had sex in 6 years. I've been sleeping in the guest room for 6 years, or he's been sleeping in the, and I'm like, okay, I can write your story for you. I can tell you what you're about to say to me in the next 20 minutes. I know everything, okay? So you're going to give me the most crazy sex in the world. That's what's going to happen. Now you're talking to a man here. Listen, I'm a Christian guy. I'm not elevating infidelity. I'm not elevating fornication, and I'm not glorifying a open, free, wild sexual life and spreading your seed everywhere. I'm telling you how I lived once and I no longer live that way. So I'm not going to use euphemisms. I'm going to give it to you straight. And I'm not going to use scientific jargon either, or research studies, or studies have shown. I'll never forget a time when I said to a woman, we're going to get together. What are we going to do tonight? She said. I said, well, I think we're going to go out to dinner and then maybe have a little fun after. It's been a stressful week, I said. And then she said to me, she goes, yeah, I really need some dick. And then she paused and said, your dick. Truth came out, didn't it? Unmet sexual needs might happen when partners have different sex drives. One partner can't have sex or doesn't have any interest in sex. One or both partners spend time away from home. Time away from home is really, that's a big one. I know people who've lived under the same roof for a long time who are not having sex. One guy said to me, I haven't had sex with my wife in 5 years. And I said to him, to his amazement, that doesn't mean your wife hasn't had sex, dude. And I know he's watching right now. Good. Unmet emotional needs. Emotional infidelity can be tricky to define. Again, that sounds like a woman that wrote this article. Let me find out if that's true. Men don't talk like this. Boom. I'm right. Men and women talk about sex differently.
Men never go to a female therapist or have a female coach.
Men never go to a female therapist or go to a female coach. I'm not going to tell you again. I'm not going to tell you again. What's the matter with you? Sexual desire, a simple desire to have sex, can motivate people to cheat. Other factors include opportunity or unmet sexual needs may also play a part in infidelity that's motivated by desire. This might result from a high level of sexual desire, not necessarily any sexual or intimate issues in the relationship. Everybody has sexual desire that can be turned up or turned down like a thermostat. That is true. Now, you can turn up the sexual activity in your home if you do certain things. It might take a little work, because in the same way that you lost your sexuality, your sexual activity, it didn't disappear overnight. It kind of faded off. You're not going to get it back in one night. Ain't going to happen. Wanting variety. I could see that in context of relationships. The desire for variety often relates to sex. For example, someone might be interested in trying types of sex that their partner isn't into. It's so true. When men cheat or go to prostitutes, they always want oral sex. Always. And single women, separated women who are dating married men, love giving oral sex. Prostitutes know that that's what they give first and foremost. Why? Because wives seem to not do it as time goes on in a marriage. The joke is, why do brides smile on their wedding day? Because they know they'll never have to give a blowjob ever again. Attraction is another big part of variety. People can be attracted to many types of people, and that doesn't necessarily stop because you're in a relationship. Why the hell did you get married then, if you want to taste all the ice cream at Baskin-Robbins? Come on. Low self-esteem. Having sex with a new person can lead to positive feelings. Oh, I told you I'm wearing boots because the bullshit is high this morning. You feel empowered, attractive, confident, and successful, and these feelings can build up your self-esteem. This is almost like a guide to cheating. Interesting. You Google why people cheat and it ends up giving you a guide to cheating. Gee, now I know what I got to do to feel better. And then it goes on to talk about repairing the damage and what to do if your partner has cheated. Oh. Ask yourself, can you trust them again? Ask your partner if they want to continue the relationship. Ask them about what happened. Talk to a counselor. Ask them if you still want them. Let's cut the bullshit here. If your partner cheated, get the hell out as fast as you can. Okay? No more like having your arm gnawed off by 1,000 rats. Take the machete and just get rid of it. Experience the pain, cauterize the wound, and move on. All right? If your partner cheats, the next time they're 5 minutes late for anything, the first thing that's going to go through your mind is, who are they with? Cheating ends a relationship. Cheating ends a relationship. Bottom line, let's see how they wrap this up. You might have heard the phrase, once a cheater, always a cheater, to describe people who aren't faithful, but while some people do cheat repeatedly, others don't. Working through... You could tell this is from a psychologist. Working through infidelity can strengthen a relationship. What I need is like one of those buttons that like all those red pill guys have. Where like, right? Working through infidelity can often strengthen a relationship. Oh my gosh. Here, I have a dial. Can you hear this? You can't hear it? Well, let me turn it up for you. Come on, working through infidelity can strengthen a relationship. So can breaking up and kicking her ass out of the house or throwing his ass to the curb. Come on, man. But it's essential for both of you and your partner to be honest about what you can and can't commit to in your relationship and maintain open communication going forward. Oh, this is why the red pill community exists. You know why? Because of softball bullshit like this. This is why I went to Patreon, because I'm going to start talking about stuff that I can't talk about here on YouTube. And unfortunately, I have this opinion that if you're not allowed to say it, I need to get on top of a mountain with a bullhorn and a stack of speakers and broadcast it to the world. Bottom line. That is just unbelievable. Working through infidelity can often strengthen a relationship. What it does, it lets the other person off the friggin' hook. Let's get friggin' real. And with that, finish your coffee. And I'll see you Monday on Patreon on the Daybreak Show, your home of sanity, clarity, reason, and no bullshit.
Deep in the shadows, I know it's hard to put one foot in front of the other. So far as the echo, where do we start? You can learn to discover a million stars. Here in the shadows, I know you're scared. Take my hand, together we'll make a stand. We've got to fight to find a way. Dare to fall to find out what to say. No more hate. Just admit that you're just afraid. Time to let go of all your fears and pride. Stand up beside me, don't you hide. We can build a better place. If we can just find a way, then we can live a better day. Rise from the ashes, from the anger, from the war. Let's come together, lift your spirit for the cause. We should be equal, should be living free. All together, one and all, let's build a dream.